The bids are in. The gavel's dropped. Ladies and gentlemen, here at WineBid, we are finally hammered. That's right. This is WineBid's podcast to get all things wine value, wine auctions, wine retail, and just wine. My name is Jeff McGurn on the WineBid marketing team. With me, as always, is our wine expert, Paul, the Professor X of Pedro Jimenez Walker. Welcome to the podcast, Paul.
Professor. Did you say Professor X?
Yes. You're like Professor X, but for Pedro Jimenez. I don't know why. It's just a thing.
All right. I like it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Now, look, there's some really interesting movement that happened this last auction that ended yesterday on June 9th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Pacific time. We wrapped up our weekly auction. I want to walk through some of the big movers, but we're going to play a little game. What country did the biggest mover come from, Paul, this week?
All right. And just to clarify, you're talking about wines that sold in the auction that closed last night, June 9th at 7 p.m. Pacific.
Yes.
And everything that was sort of fascinating and either kind of a lot of bidding activity and or value increase since last time in auction or those kinds of examples, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. All right. So I'm trying not to cheat, but I'm going to say...
You don't have to try to not cheat. Just
which country? It always like
less work than that.
Or South Africa, or like there's always a weird examples. I'm just going to say from last week. Oh boy, I'm just going to say France because there were a lot of interesting French wines in last week.
It was France.
Okay.
Care to pick a region?
Let's see, the Loire Valley.
No.
Yeah, Burgundy.
I don't believe this is a Loire wine.
No, you don't even know.
Well, no, it actually. It's Vin de France.
Okay, wait. Yeah, was it the Loire producer that's Vin de France? Because I know those went crazy. At least one of them went bonkers.
It's the
what's the name? I'll think of it.
Bernardeau, I believe. Stéphane Bernardeau.
Yes. This Loire producer.
2015, right? It had 8 bids, taking it from $55 to $127 a bottle for an increase of about 131.82%. We sold 4 of those bottles.
Yeah, and there were 2 different lots, right? There was another lot of a different kind of wine because there's Chenin Blanc and then there was a red, I believe.
It was the red, and this red, I do believe is what I'm seeing is Cabernet Sauvignon.
It is really. Oh gosh, what's the name again? Tell me the name.
Stéphane Bernardeau Lesverla.
Bernard, but it's Bernard. Yeah, I know. It's how do you spell? It's Bernaudeau or something like that.
Yeah, Bernaudeau, right?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Very hip stuff. Very cool stuff.
Very, very, very hipster stuff. Coming in at number 2, this one also in France should be less surprising. Bordeaux. We had Montrose 75 go from 145 to 300.
Well, I think we talked about that. I mean, we talked about a lot of things last week. I think our podcast was over an hour long, but we had a guest on and we got rambling. But I do believe we talked about Montrose as a producer and how it was a better deal. And, what would you pick versus something? So you had like an example and a question you asked Walter about, would you pick, Costas or Nell or something else or Montrose? And I think he picked Montrose, or maybe I did. I can't remember, but
it was that 2000 Montrose. It was the 2000 Montrose.
Yeah, which is what, 200 and something probably, I would imagine.
No, it was at 165, but it had a bid on it taking to 175, and we just thought
that was a steal. I remember that, and I think it's because it didn't get like a super high Parker score. But then you said that 75 was the one.
Went up to 300 after just 2 bids.
Wow. Huh. So a couple of people went after it, obviously.
Yes. A couple people went after it. Number 3 was interestingly enough, we're going to leave France and head up to Germany. 2016 Wassenhaus Spätburguer de Bellen got 8 bids taken from 75 and then hammering at 143.
Yeah, these Wassenhaus wines, they keep trickling in. all different varieties, all different labels, and they keep getting a lot of action.
I mean, I mean, it makes me want to try some of these Boston House wines because I have not tried them.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Number 4, so that one of 91%. With an 88% increase coming at number 4, we have 2016 Egon Müller Schatzhofberg Riesling Spätlese. Started at 170, hammered at 320.
Wow, that's impressive. That's impressive.
I mean,
that's a rare one. I think that was one of my picks last week too.
There's another one that was a pick of mine, coming in number 5, which I looked at that and I was like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. This one had an 81.9% increase. It was the Emilio Pepe Rosato.
Rosato, yeah.
Started at 210, and I was like, $210 for Rosato?
Yeah.
Like,
I know. It reminds me of those Lopez Heredia rosés, or, you know, this kind of a similar thing where they're super, super hard to find. And I think we, as in WineBid, had an email sent out notifying customers about this wine. And I believe I read correctly that it was never actually exported to the United States, or at least not in the old days. So it's really, really tough to find. So yeah, you can imagine there's a cult. Well, there's already a cult following for Emilio Pepe wines as it is. So the rosé is just like, forget it.
$382 a bottle. Wow. I mean, that is not a cheap rosé.
No.
And what's interesting to me is, like, you see, this is coming out of Italy, right? Like $380 bottles of rosé.
I think it's the only time we've ever sold it too. Excuse me, it's not actually old. I thought it was an older bottle, but no, it's from 2018. Yeah.
Coming in at number 6, 81.2% increase would be the 2018 Château de Bonnezeau Vin de France Chenin Villevin du Fif Prévost. 8 bids from $25 to $45.30. So, like,
that's wild. Yeah, because I think actually, was that the 18?
Yeah, that was the 18.
Yeah, so this is like dry Bunzo, because you see that the sweet wines fairly often. Actually, one of them is in this week. There's René Renew Bunzo, but it's late harvest wine. So I actually saw this. Yeah, Vieille Vigne du Fif Prévost, like kind of like the champagne, same name, but Vin de France Chenin. That's really interesting. That's really, really cool. Non-classified Chenin Blanc, but it's cut somewhere in Loire Valley.
We have 2 wines in the top 10 movers that are unclassified French wineries, Vin de France.
They're from Loire Valley too, which is pretty wild. Like, who would have thought these like record hitters coming out of Loire, but yeah, rarity, super rare.
This one I thought was super interesting. 76% increase. 2012, the Herté Frères Extra Brut, Les Vignes de Artois Villevin de Pinot Meunier, went from $50 to $88 for a 76% increase.
So this is the Old Vines version. I think there's like a non-Old Vines version of this wine too, but pretty hard to find. And Laert has a super, it's got, speaking of cult followings, it's definitely got that going on these days. That's pretty cool.
Saw some movement on 2019 Penfolds Bin 311 Chardonnay.
Really?
20 to 35, a 75% increase.
Really?
Bottles went up to $35. Yeah.
Well, to its credit, it got a whole bunch of really good scores. So I think that's probably why.
Also, 75% increase on the 2017 Comte Ligier Bel Air, Von Romani La Colombière.
Now, that wine, I'm almost positive rolled over. It didn't actually sell in the first week, because one of the wines that was in, I think, with that Colombière was the AC Von Romane, which got bid way up 2 weeks ago. I'm going to check this just to make sure. What was the vintage again?
2017.
2017. Jeez, yeah, what did it hammer at?
Yeah, started 800, hammered at 1400.
Now, this is an interesting one.
Three of them. Yeah. There were 3 bottles.
Yeah, no, this is wild, because that is a big, big number. I mean,
You think? Like 800 to 1400?
It's also village wine. This is also village Rhone Romane. It's not, Premier Grand Cru. And it did roll over. It was in prior week's auction with, like I said, it was with another batch of just, straight, if you will, Rhone Romane. Let's see. I want to look it up real quick if you don't mind, because that is a crazy high hammer for something that rolled over.
Yeah. Started 522, went to 6.2, and then didn't get purchased till 6.9. So yeah, it rolled over.
The other bottle, the 17 Comte Ligier Bel-Air Rhone Romane, went in at 650 and hammered at 650 in the first week. It just sold. So, there wasn't any bidding action. There was two people, I think, looking at it. But then, yeah, that is just wild. I mean, you can buy Premier Cru, I don't want to say Grand Cru wines from Comte Ligier Bel-Air for less, but you can definitely buy Village and Premier Cru wines for less.
I mean, that is quite a jump for Village.
$100 to $1,400. Wow. Impressive.
If you had $1,400, Paul, would you rather have one bottle of 2017 Comte Ligier Bel-Air Village, or you could spend that $1,400 on any other Burgundy?
I thought you were going to give some of your retroactive wine investment advice about buying this, on release.
If you had bought 1,000 cases of the Bernardaud Vin de France.
Okay, we don't even make the entire array of Comte Ligier Bel-Air.
You just bought it all.
Forget it. La Rhone, there's probably a barrel of that? Yeah, I mean, that's...
one. 73.33% increase. 2015, Philippe Collin Saint-Aubin. We're talking about the Saint-Aubins.
Yeah.
They're jumping up.
Yeah.
Les Combs, $30 to $52.
That is a big jump.
That's a big jump. 73% increase in price, 30 to 52. That's a big jump.
Did you say Pierre Moret? Is that who you said?
No, Philippe Collin.
No, geez. I don't know what I was thinking. I was looking at something on the screen. Totally confused. Philippe Collin. Okay, that's a lot.
I mean, I thought that was quite a jump, right?
It is.
2015. The word is out, and I take full responsibility for this, so I apologize. 2015 Pride Mountain Cabernet Franc Mag went from 80 to 135 for a 68.75% increase. I am not surprised. I think those Prides are just perennially undervalued. $80 for a bag of Pride Cab Franc.
Yeah, that was one of my first picks, I think, of domestic wines in last week.
We talked about that.
Yeah, it's a steal. Even though, I mean, what did it go up to?
135. That's a big jump.
Yeah, still not bad. I mean, 80 to 135. That's not bad.
Let's talk about some of the
Probably costs more than that from the winery, actually.
Oh, for sure, costs more than that from the winery. Let's talk about some of the really interesting stuff that moved. I thought it was super interesting. We had this 01 2-bottle lot of 01 Harlan Mags OWC. Sold for $49.40. I thought that would be, a couple of cool party bottles there. 2000 Domaine Romani Conti Latoche. We sold 3 of them for $38.20 a piece.
Okay, so 2000 Latoche, you said?
Yeah, there were 3 of those.
That seems like some of those prices have come back to earth. I mean, that's still a lot, but Latoche is going for well over $5,000 for younger vintages. So
98 Penfolds Grange 6-bottle lot OWC sold for $28.50. We do not see a lot of multi-packs of Penfolds Grange, especially not stuff with that amount of age on it, right? But to see a 6-bottle lot OWC, I mean, I just don't think we get a lot of Grange OWC. Period.
No, I think there is some in this week, actually, though. I think there's a batch of it.
Oh, okay. 97 Phelps Insignia 6-liter sold for $27.60. That 95 Krug Claw Diambonet 1-bottle lot OWC.
Yeah, that's been in for a little while, I think.
That's been for a little while. Finally sold at $26.50. 2021 Keller 6-bottle horizontal OWC sold for $26.40.
Okay. So that was the second week, I believe, or was it?
I think it was the second week because I think a lot of the Keller stuff came in a couple weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah, sounds right.
59 Lafite Rothschild sold for 3 of them sold for $23.70. DRC Grounds Echezeaux had 2 bids taken from $2,205 to $2,305. 94 Harlan Estate. We talked about that. That sold for 2,300 after 3 bids, from 2,665 to 2,300. Actually, all of the 74 Heights Martha's Vineyard sold.
Okay. Yeah, I know there were a couple of them.
There were a couple of them. There were 2 that were competitive, sold at 2,220, and 1 that was not competitive, sold at 2,120. A 3 liter of the 98 Ornellaia sold for after 2 bids, went from 2,100 to 2,200. 04 Giacomo Cantana Barolo Reserva Monfortino Mag sold at 3,050. And then this 1985 Diamond Creek Gravelly Meadow 12 liter.
Oh, did that thing sell? Yeah, that was
19.4. I kind of was like, oh, I really would love that, but God, what a pain in the ass that would be to open up. Like, when do you open up a 12 liter?
I know. I mean, it is, pretty interesting for a 40th birthday for next year, right? That's a great birth year vintage for sure. Because you could, think about 40th birthday parties. You could go through that thing in no time if you got, 20, 30 people. It's a case of wine, right? 12 liter, or no, it's a nine plus, it's a case plus a 3 liter. That's all.
Exactly. It's a case plus a 3 liter. I mean, you're talking 12,
20 people. You could go through that. No problem. Let's see my friends anyway.
I don't know, man. Your friends would be hurting at the end of that. So 16 bottles times 5 glasses, that's 80 glasses. So basically every one of your friends would drink almost a bottle.
No problem.
You're like, easily. And then they'd be like, what's next? Where's your next 12 liter? The last one I'll mention before we move on to picks, 98 Trottenway 3 liter sold for $14.75. I think
that stuck around for a little bit. That was a very appealing looking bottle for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Let's jump into our picks this week, okay? So this is for the auction ending on June 16th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Everything we're about to mention, we're going to talk about the stuff coming in that's coming to auction. Some of the stuff's coming to auction from France and the United States and a few other places. Everything that we're going to talk about right now, you can buy and bid on if you're bidding before June 16th, 2024, 7 p.m. Pacific time. That's when this auction ends. I'm going to jump right into it. Some interesting first spreads. I'm going to start with Bordeaux. We haven't started with Bordeaux in a while.
Yep, started with Bordeaux. Okay.
We're starting with Bordeaux. 64 Latour for $600 and a 75 Latour for $360.
Yep, one of the best wines they ever made. It's 1970. There's a couple lots of it too.
Then there's that.
Phenomenally good wine. That is just and it's not that expensive, but it is easily one of the best bottles of Latour I've ever had.
I think, anyway. Yeah. So you
don't miss that 70 because that's a legendary wine. It's incredible.
There's the 64 Haut-Brion we have 2 of those at $445. And then I was actually looking at, we've got the 19 Haut-Brion in for $415.
I'm glad you mentioned it because that is a steal. That's a steal. $415. It's like a great vintage. It's almost $100 less than the Haut-Brion Blanc that's 24 years old in the auction as well, or 23.
Yes.
It's unbelievable. That 19, that will only go up in value. There's no way it's going to be worth less than 500 probably in a year or two.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's coming out recently. But that's an absolute deal.
In fact, I think, you're absolutely right. That I don't think there's any way that 19 goes down in value. I mean, I suppose it's possible, but
it falls apart or something crazy, which I doubt is ever going to happen. That it's an incredible deal.
Just so you know,
scores. It got great scores too. So I don't.
This price is only $20 more than you would have paid if you bought it on Premier in 2020. Because it was it's $3.95 a bottle, and you're paying $4.15, right? I mean,
it's been out for years at this point. So there's
tremendous value. I mean, just $20 in storage for the years it's been out so far, right? Is what you would have paid. 90 Petrus for Mag for $6,900.
Yeah, serious bottle there.
That bottle is not joking around. I'll bet you that bottle is ridiculous. So good, but $6,900. Woo! Lynch-Bages for $315. I mean, Lynch is getting up there, but 90.
But couple deals right in the middle between that 90 and 2000. There's the 95 and 96. They're both still reasonable, if you ask me. The 95 is phenomenal. The 96, I think, is even better, and they're 165 and 170 respectively. So I mean, don't miss out on those.
You could basically almost pick up both of those for the price of the 90. Right.
Yeah, I think is in a different category, but in the 2000, I think a lot of people are speculating, that's going to be like the next 1989 or something. But the 90 is very, very good. I haven't had it for quite a few years, but it is very, very good. It actually hasn't gone up that crazy in price, but there aren't too many 300 plus Lynch-Bages examples, but the 90 is very, very good. It's very good.
2019 Pontet-Canet, $95.
I need to have a Pontet-Canet, pick.
Well, I just feel like that's such a good deal. Like the 19s are still such a good deal. That's
I think that
$40 more than you would have
the Chateau or something. You're always pushing that wine.
I'm always pushing that wine. 75 Dechem, which already has a bid on it, taking from 480 to 500.
Yeah, that looks amazing. I did see that too. There's a bunch of great Dechem in this week.
A 90 Dechem split, a half bottle, has a bid on taking from 235 to 245. But I go with that Dechem, 1990 Dechem 750 at 345, which already has.
This is the classic example we were talking about, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, last week.
Look at the difference in price and those are both default reserves, right? The 90 half bottle, 245, the 90 full bottle, 365. It doesn't make any sense.
345. I mean, 365 you bid now, but whoever has that bid could get it for
$100 more. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
This I thought was cool. We have two magnums of 75 Château Haut-Brion for $11.70. One has a bid on it.
And that's a legendary wine. I think it was one of those 100-point Parker wines like 20 or something years ago, and then it got re-rated, but it's still incredibly, incredibly good. Don't see it in magnum format too often these days. That's harder to come by for sure.
Speaking of Montrose, 15 Montrose has a bid on it. Started at 110. If you want to bid on it now, it'd be 120. But I thought 110 for 15 Montrose was not bad at all. 9 years.
That like reeks of the fact that it didn't get a huge score. That's what that makes me think of.
That wine's going to be stellar, and because somebody neglected to give it a huge score, like you're going to get a steal. 05 Decru for 240, and then we got the 14 for 205. 19 Léoville Porfier. For 110, we have 6 of them, and we've got the 15 for 85. So some decent deals there. I feel like
that's bad.
2000 Smith Lafitte for 130. I didn't think that was bad. 24 years of age, right? 1970 Pape Clement for $95. I thought that would be a cool one. And then there's the 16 for 90. So I don't know why, the Pape Clement is, I feel like Pape Clement's a great price because I don't know. Every time I have Pape Clement, I'm like, this is much better than I even ever remember it being, or anybody I feel gives it credit. 71 Riesec for 130, 90 Riesec for 90, and then the 01 Riesec for 140.
Right. I think there's multiple examples, right, of at least the 01. I think there's multiple lots.
Yes. 64 Grand Puy Lacoste for $91, up from 90. Already three bottles already have bids. And then the 90 Grand Puy Lacoste.
I'm glad you mentioned that. That's another one like Lynch-Bages that's just really, it's stellar wine.
So good, but $235, right?
Yeah, you're going to pay more for that. It's a known great example from Grand Puy Lacoste, because that's relatively expensive when you think about it. A lot of the other, especially vintages that are, I would say mid-90s vintages aren't nearly as much as that, but the 90 is very, very, very good. It's really good.
I mean, you're going to pay a pretty penny, but I still don't think for an epic vintage, $235 doesn't seem that crazy to me.
No, it's not. And I think it can sit side by side, other examples that are considerably more expensive and hold its own. It's serious wine. 2000
Lafleur. We have 6 of them for a paltry $1,660 a bottle. 05 Malscott Saint-Exupéry. I love this wine. 130. We have the 19 for 50. I feel like this is a great producer. I would go with the 19s for 50 all day long.
Right? That's not bad. That's not bad at all.
But if you want something with age, 130 doesn't seem crazy to me for a Malscott. For 05 is a great vintage. 99 mag of Le Pen for 38.50, and then a 2000 mag of Le Pen for 6,700.
Yeah, serious stuff.
Well, and then there's a 3-bottle lot of Le Pen from 16 for 79.50. We just don't see 3-bottle lots of Le Pen, mags of Le Pen. Like when you get Le Pen allocations, it's usually like a bottle, 750 if you're lucky and you spent $30,000 on Premier with, right.
Yeah, that's a rare little batch there of 3-pack and magnums. It's a really nice selection of Le Pen. Right.
At the same time, that would to me, that's a flood of rare format Le Pen. Like 3 is a flood of rare format Le Pen, right?
Yeah, it's not
01 Sudero with 2 of those at 75. 89 La Fourier, Paraguay. We have 2 of those at 50. One has a bid on it.
90 La Fourier Paraguay half bottles, 35.
Oh, I did see that. Yes, I did. And I was trying not to mention them because I thought I might have been on. Thanks for that.
I was going to say the 89 is 52 for the 750. I don't know. I would get both of them and then just side by side, have a comparison.
Right. They're so inexpensive.
Images and they're not expensive.
2020 La Gaffier for $70. We got 4 of those. 2021 Château La Voilette. We have 6 of those at $210 a piece.
Yeah, small production wine, but does kind of make the rounds at auction pretty often, especially, with us. We do see it fairly. I don't know this wine at all. I'm curious to try to taste it.
I didn't either, but I saw that and I'm like, 210. That would be super interesting. 05 Chateau Doissy Diné. I know I'm
Doissy Den,
Doissy Den, $40. 05 Chateau Royal Valentine mag for $120.
I caught that one too. I was like, that's a good deal. That's got to be great.
I think all the 05 Doissy Den, right, where it's like $40, 19 years of age. I'll bet you that stuff is awesome right now. Yeah, right,
that's a great deal.
16 Labégorce for $35. Chateau Labégorce. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly.
Labégorce. Yeah.
Labégorce. What did I miss in Bordeaux?
Yeah, I mean, lots of stars this week, lots of great Sauterne deals, which we kind of keep talking about, and a couple really nice horizontal collections, the Duclos collections. There's an 09 in, and there's a 2000. They're 9-bottle horizontals, 2005. There's an 09 and an 05 Duclos collection. Horizontals, so you get the First Gross, Petrus, Decem, Cheval Blanc, and of course I'm forgetting what the other ones are. But anyway, really nice collections there, and they're in perfect condition. And so, there's some 2000 Ozone.
Yeah,
15 and 19 Canon Lagafleur I thought were good deals. The 15's 86, the 19's $60. So these 19s we're talking about are still just smoking deals. Not for long, but they're still, they're still really reasonable. 90 La Lagune. Speaking of another 1990, that's really, really great.
90 La Lagune.
Yeah, 66 The Mission in there, 490 serious wine. 01 Latour Blanche. There's just all kinds of great Sauterne. No, you pretty much got. There's a full case of 95 Margaux. Looks very, very nice. 89 Montrose actually, in addition to the 15 that's in, and that keeps kind of going up the way of the 1990. It seems to consistently be a little bit less, but it's nice to see that it keeps, coming back. 03 Pebby Fougere was another one that caught my eye. I wonder how that's drinking. I'll bet it's pretty tasty right now. It's kind of hard to find, smaller production stuff. Same thing, 03 Pichon Lalande. I've seen some 03s pop up, and I think that those are tasting really, really well. And I think it was, kind of a tricky vintage because it's so hot, but I think the wines have aged quite well. So those are coming in and exciting to see. And that's, I mean, serious, really heavy hitter stuff that you mentioned, Le Pen and, and Lafleur and things like that. It's always fun to see those things. So there's a really nice kind of collection. I think all from the same cellar that features some of those crazy bottles. I think that Petrus is from the same batch as well. So, and it's in great shape. I'm familiar with where it's been stored and the collector. So it's great stuff.
Let's jump down to Burgundy. A lot of Burgundy.
Crazy Burgundies in this week.
I mean, 14 Rousseau Gevrey Chambertin already has a bid on it. One of them does. We have three of those, 390. I thought I was really interested in this O2 Louis Jadot Bonmar for 370. The 16 du Jacques Gevrey Chambertin au Combat. 7 of those at 300. This 96 Druhin Charms Chambertin already has a bid on taking 135 to 145. 14 Georges Rumière Bonmar for 1360.
Yeah, nice little dollop of Rumier in this week. It's really
nice little dollop.
Great.
Like there's some really cool Rumier. This 13 Alain Houdelot Noëlla Von Romani Les Beaumont for 230. There are 3 of those. 15 Sylvia Catard Chambois Moussigny Les Clos de Léormé.
Yeah.
2 bids actually taking it from, we have 2 bottles going from 250 to 270. And then we have a lot, we have a single bottle lot that's still at 250. 09 Chandon de Bralais, Corton Bressons, 1 bid taking it from 95 to 96. This 15 Denis Mortet, Gevrey Chambertin Lavaux Saint-Jacques, 3 bottles at 220. 16 Domaine Berthaud Chambois Moussigny Les Amoroses, 1 bid.
Amoros. Yeah, there's a few Amoros in this week.
Yeah,
that's probably the most reasonable of all of them, actually.
Yeah, and the last one I'll mention is Pierre Moret Merceau Perrier for 275.
Yeah, it's funny. You picked a lot of the same wines I picked. I mean, there's just like an incredible array of really collectible producers in. But the neat thing is that there's multiple examples and vintages and bottles. So it's not just one of this and one of that. Like there are actually, it's nice to see, there's a couple, like Catillard's a great example. There's a whole bunch of different wines from Catillard, and you never usually see that many at any given time. But there's the Village Von Romane, and then I don't think any Grand Crus in this week, but yeah, a lot of really nice, Premier Crus from Nuits Saint-Georges and Chameau-Musigny. And then same thing for, there's Guylaine Barteau in the same way. There's Ramonet. There's a couple of crazy Loire wines, including Romani Saint Vivant from 98, which is wild. I haven't seen that in a long time. A bunch of Fourier, Premier Crus. Again, I don't think I saw, I think there's Griot Chambertin. I can't remember. I know there's Griot from another producer, but anyway, in Dujac, same thing, just like really, really nice array. And so in Dujac, there's like 5 of some of them and 2s and 3s. And so, I don't expect to see crazy bidding wars and prices getting pushed out of the stratosphere. I think that it's something where you can say, oh, cool. Like let's put some bids out and you'll probably win, something. Same thing, Claude Dugat, really nice array of 90s vintage Claude Dugat, which is just awesome. And they're not terribly expensive. 93 Dugat Gevrey, 260. The Village Gevrey from 96 and 97 are like 145 and 120 respectively. So yeah, and Cécile Tremblay, there's a few examples there. Bachelet, same thing. Arlot, and there's a bunch of Angro, there's Richebourg and Echezeaux, and there's AF Gros Echezeaux and Richebourg. So really, really cool lineup this week for sure. 93 Clos Tart. So some things, a little bit of time on them, 20 years or so, or more in some cases. 15 Cocherie Corton Charlemagne. Yeah, and some nice 14 Vogue Amoros as well as Musigny. So yeah, really, really awesome Burgundies.
Really awesome burgers from great vintages, like 15s and, like some 14s.
5s and 98s. And
I was just like, holy, I mean, it's like, honestly, it's like hard. It would be hard to pay. Like, you and I were talking about this earlier, messaging about this earlier, but just like all these really cool Burgundies in. Let's jump over to Alsace. We've got 97 Marcel Dice, Riesling, Altenburg, de Bergheim. Already has a bid on it taking from 85 to 86. The only other one I'd mention is this 90 Ostertag Munichberg Vendage Tardive de Riesling for $60. We got a few Vendage Tardives, a few VTs. So I thought,
the Weinbach was a deal. The 99 Gewürztraminer Altenburg late harvest at $30 for the half bottle. Better jump on it, man. You're going to lose it. You're going to lose it.
That stuff looks so good. Let's jump over to Champagne. 80 Dom, 82 Dom, 80 Dom, 430, 82 Dom.
And did you see the quantities in some of them?
There's 11 of the 80 Doms, 13 of the 82s.
Amazing. Yeah, there's 99, 02, and 03 P2s also, just like phenomenal Dom Perignon selection this week.
And 98 Krug OCC for 465. 83 Taittinger Comte de Champagne Blanc de Blanc for 490. We have 4 of those. 96 Le Grand Dame for 225. 78 Laurent Perrier Grand Céleste for 300. 73 Ruinart, Dom Ruinart Blanc de Blanc, Cuvée du 250 Anniversaire. 3 of those, 375. 16 Agripart et Fil, Extra Brut, Grand Cru Blanc de Blancs, Mineral for 115. It's all this crazy stuff from like 70s, 80s, 90s.
Yeah. Really cool array for sure. The Grand Siècle looks amazing. That I saw that 73 Ruinart. Interesting that there's 3 of them.
But that's the thing. Usually when we see this stuff come in, it's like one at a time.
Right.
But 11, 13, 3. Yeah. This is rare stuff. You don't run into these bottles every day.
No, it's true. Yeah, 1182 Dom. You're almost certainly going to score it at reserve at 520, I think. So,
I think it's very likely. Let's jump over to the Loire. 15 Clos Roger Saumur Champagny Le Bourg for 420. God, those Rogers are not cheap.
Kind of high, but maybe, it could be just 15 got pushed a little bit. But yeah, that's it's not cheap.
Seems high to me. Then we've got this O2 Didier Dagenau. Already has a bid. 2 of them. They both already have bids saying for 290 to 300. Wow. I am always a little bit surprised when the select seems to hold its value. I shouldn't be surprised. It's great wine, but I'm always a little bit surprised. O2 Dagenau en Chalot. 2 of those, 2 bids taking them from 100 to 211.
Yeah, that's a big jump for sure. Where the Enchaillou now is less than $100 than the Silex. To me, that's wild, because Silex was always way more expensive on release anyway, and way back when it was was a lot less. But yeah, those early Dagenau whites are still really collectible. So,
but now they're getting into. I feel like and this takes me to the next one. Dagenau is now getting into Vuitton territory, where it's 06 Vuitton Sancerre Claude de Niort 450, right? Okay, if the Select's 300, your Enchaillot is going up to 211, you're not it's not that much further till you're getting into buying Vuitton, right?
That's true.
Which is also not cheap. And then the only other one that I thought was interesting was this 98 Domaine Roger Champol Sancerre Côte de Chabtine Rouge for $30. So red Sancerre from Pinot Noir.
Now I have to decipher again. What is it again? 98 what?
Roger, R-O-G-E-R.
Okay. Oh, wait. Okay. Champeau. Okay. Sancerre Côte de Chantin Rouge. All right. Interesting. I don't know this wine at all, but
it's Sancerre from Pinot Noir. Red Sancerre from Pinot Noir.
Thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome. You have so much to learn, young Pat.
No, that's interesting, and it looks like the original owner purchased upon release, so they've been stored, with one person. They're $30. That's. I wonder how those are drinking. It's cool.
Yeah, I thought that looked interesting. Let's jump over to the Rhone, shall we?
Yeah, there was one wine, because we were talking earlier about these Loire wines that had really gone bonkers in last week's auction. And there's a 97 René Renaud Bunzo. There was I think it was dry Bunzo, dry Chenin, that was in last week that got pushed way out of control. But then this week, people I think a lot more familiar with René Renaud, but there's Cuvée Zenith 500 milliliters at $70. So that one caught my eye.
We are going to southwest of France. Oh, no, the Rhone. Sorry.
Okay.
The Rhone, 96 Chave Hermitage for $390. Woo! 2012 Chapoutier Hermitage La Pavillon for $215. This This one I thought was cool. This 85 Domaine du Pagao Châteauneuf du Pape Cuvée Réservé for 220. There are two of those.
Yeah, mid 80s Pagao. We don't see that very often. We're always seeing the later vintages. We see a lot of it. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of examples in right now of younger vintages, but 85 that's a tough one. That's a tough one to find. I don't know how, recently that's been an auction, but I'll bet it's been a couple of years at least.
It has been a minute since it has been auctioned. And the fact that we have two of them, they look like they're in great condition.
Yeah.
From what I can see. And then, but yeah, the last time we had them in auction was 2018. So it's been about 6 years. June of 2018, actually. June 3rd of 2018 was when we launched.
Wow, 6 years, right on.
Almost to the day, almost. 2014 Auguste Clap Cornell Renaissance for $80. 09 Delas Forêts Hermitage Domaine des Tourettes mag for $200. $200 for a mag didn't strike me as too bad. 05 Les Vieux d'Anjon Châteauneuf du Pape for $65. We got two of those. 09 Xavier Vignon Châteauneuf du Pape Cuvée Anommé for $50. And then I thought this was cool. This 1971 Chateau de la Jardine Châteauneuf du Pape 3-liter OWC for $200. We've got three of them. So, I mean, that's one, like, I don't know that that's a great vintage or anything or a storied producer, but it is a 3-liter of CDP 71 for $200, right? Which, if you know anyone with a 71 birthday, that could be a really fun bottle to open up for a party.
Yeah, no, I thought the same thing. I actually looked, and there's, like you said, there's a couple lots of it. So it shouldn't, it should be able to find, I would imagine it's going to hammer somewhere around $200 for the 3-liter. But that's a neat one to find 71s that aren't, totally out of range. But
yeah. And then the only other thing that I'm going to mention in the southwest of France is this 90.
Hold on. Let me mention a couple of Rhone things that stuck out this week before you go.
All right.
16 song Cuvée Felix that came in for 65. Yep. There's also Gangloff Condria from 1995, which caught my eye. It's got a bid on it, $71 now. Don't see, too much mid-90s Gangloff Condria. So that was one. And then I always mention the other producer I always mention from Châteauneuf that I love is Chapelle Saint-Théodoric, the La Gigasse. There's other designations, but I've tried a couple of these and they're really, really good. So anyway, the 16 La Gigasse is in at 50. So yeah. Where are you going? Southwest France?
Southwest France, 1995. Tiracao.
Gravier, yeah.
Gravier, $35.
I saw it. Yeah, good deal. Good. I mean, not that you can't find any Sauternes in the auction this week, but
I know, right? Like, but I just thought that was cool for $35, right? That was interesting. Let's jump over to the United States and run through the US really quickly before we wrap up, okay? Boy, there's a bunch of old Opus 1, 79.
Vintage, which, I think is very collectible. There's a couple bottles of it too, not just one lot, but the 79 for $790 is that wine. I think will push 4 figures eventually. Maybe not in the next few years, but I think eventually it will. Just because like the way 74s have gone, 78s are now going crazy. I think, with these inaugural vintages, especially Opus 1, it was such a big deal. It's probably going to get, go up from there. I don't know how it's drinking. I don't anyone that's tasted it too recently, but anyway, multiple bottles in this week.
2 bottles of 94 Phelps Insignia.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned there's a perfect arrangement of and they're in awesome condition, like 89, 90, 91, 94, 95, 96, 97. I just picked all the vintages from, late 80 to, the last vintage of the 80s through 97, just because it would be so fun to try those all together. You see, we see a lot of the later vintages all the time, but I think finding, examples of the 90s kind of great vintages from the 90s too, they're all there. I think 92 is good as well. But anyway, and there's 3 of the 94. So there's 9 of the 97. There's all kinds of different bottles there.
Just really, really cool Phelps Insignia. One that I know you probably got your eyes on, this 92 Dominus Estate for $255.
I think that's pretty fair, considering a lot of the other vintages are going over 300. So
yes, absolutely,
it's becoming hard. I mean, that's not an easy one to replace these days.
No, not at all. Did you see all of these old Ridge Montebellos?
Yeah. I think like great shape and half bottles too,
Yes.
I don't remember the last time I saw a half bottle 80s Montebello, but yeah, very cool.
Just really, 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 really cool stuff.
92 Ridge, the Santa Cruz cab. So if you don't want to spend the Montebello money, I thought there's 92 half bottles of the Santa Cruz Cabernet for $50. I mean, I don't remember ever even seeing those. So yeah, super rare allocations. Must have gone either to a restaurant or somebody who had been on the mailing list forever. Because I don't know if they offered half bottles of some of these designations to the mailing list, but maybe they did. I don't know, but you don't see them very often.
No, I don't know that I've ever been offered a half bottle as a part of an allocation.
There you go. So yeah,
I just don't think it's very common. 73 Heights Martha Vineyard Cabernet Sauvignon. We have 5% 50 because we sold through all of 74s. Now we got 73s this week.
Back to 73.
Back to 73.
It's considerably reasonable next to 74. Also.
Right. Well, 750 is like, oh man, there's an embarrassment of Aubert. I'm not even going to go through it.
There's a lot.
There's a bunch of really cool old Behringer this week too.
Some great stuff. Great stuff. And deals too. I thought the 90 reserve cab it's got a bid now at $91 was not bad at all. 94 in there for 125. That wine's really, really good. So
97 has a bid, $91. Like I think all those are going to be just phenomenal. 97 Montelena Estate, Cabernet Sauvignon for 180. We have 7 of those. And then we've got just a ton of new Montelena as well. We've got a few bottles of Diamond Creek. I always have my eye on this. I'm really curious to see what happens with this 1990 Lake Vineyard for $725. We've got 2 of them. Okay. Now, if you're in the market for 81 bottles of 1974 Beaulieu Vineyards Georges de Latour Private Reserve Cabernet Sauvignon, we have you covered.
If you need a lot of wine for a 50th birthday party, this is the time.
If you're like Paul and you've got 80 friends who are loadies.
I don't even have 20. I was talking about 20 friends earlier.
I'm saying 80. You're like, I got 80 friends and we all want to drink 74 Georges de Latour. This is your week. Each of you can have a bottle.
Incredible amount of DV.
Or if you have 160 friends who are just reasonable drinkers, and then you can do this, right?
That's true. Yeah, that's true. You're right. If you really wanted to have a party with like everybody and everyone get a chance to try the wine, that would be good.
This is it. This is it. I mean, 81 bottles of 74.
That's pretty incredible.
Somebody really, really liked it. I shudder to find out, to know how many whoever consignees had originally. We're down to 81. I bought 50 cases of this, down to my last 7. I thought the 92 Dalavai Maya for $635, that was interesting.
That's kind of one of the wines that was very important for them because Parker gave that, I think, 100 points. And I think it was right before the patriarch passed away, actually. I believe. I should check on that. But anyway, that's a kind of like an historical, important bottle in Napa. And I'm sure it's fantastic too.
$635. I saw this 95 Arajo State Islay Vineyard Cabernet Sauvignon, $275. I mean, I don't know. I feel like you can get some of these old Isleys for.
No, the 96 is 175 and the 97 is 170 and the 98 is 170, which to me, those are the ones to get because
That's what I was just going to say. That's what I was just going to say. Like the 95, the tasting notes I'm reading on the 95 are saying like it's like really, really good right now. Yeah. That being said, I can't imagine that the 96 and, 97, like, those can't be that far behind, and $100.
Yeah, to me, it's interesting. I'm sure it goes back to Parker scores from whenever years ago that the 96 and 97 were just not in the same realm. I mean, I'm sure they're probably not as good. If you put them side by side next to 94 and 95, they're not as strong vintages. I mean, even just across the valley anyway. But yeah, 170 for the 97 versus 230, 275 for the 95. That's a pretty cool deal.
What about that versus the 91 Groth Reserve Cabernet Sauvignon for 145?
Yeah, this is classic sort of undervalued, especially in Oakville. There's and Groth Reserve goes for a lot more when it gets big scores, but yeah, the 95 is $90. So those are great deals. Those are
like phenomenal. You look at like the 92 Grace Family Cabernet Sauvignon. They have two of those at 240. I thought that was super interesting. I mean, look, the theme this week seems to be like really cool old Napa caps in the U.S. Like, there's some really cool stuff.
Yeah, no, I think so. And like, I don't know if you had more you wanted to list because I did want to mention a couple.
I only have two. I'm going to say the 74 Spring Mountain Cabernet Sauvignon. Two of those are 170 now, start at 160. And then 1997 David Arthur Elevation 1147 Cabernet Sauvignon for 260. I thought that was cool too.
Interesting. Yeah. It's that's another one of those wines that kind of sticks in my mind. And I think that the 97 David Arthur, I want to say, it got a huge score, and that pushed that one like sort of higher than any other wine from the vintage. But well, yeah, it's got a Spectator 99. So I think that was it was like one of the highest scoring wines they ever made. But I'm actually very excited, Jeff, to tell you that guess what is in this week from California that, I always love to talk about these wines and I keep track of this data religiously.
It's a Wine Spectator #1.
You got it. It's in the wine that, like, I remember when I was working retail years and years and years ago, the 96 Chateau St. Jean Sauvignon is in this week.
How much? $20.
And if I recall, this wine sold for like over $1,200 years and years and years ago because it was such a big deal at the time. I think it came out, it was 1999.
Yes,
when
1999.
Yeah. So it was like late 99. It got this #1 rating and it just went through the roof. It was like such a big deal. So anyway, I was just happy to share that, that information with you because I know you were waiting for it. So,
I mean, did you enjoy it at the time? I love this. Wine Spectator #1. Robert Parker gave it a 92.
Yeah, right. Like it's wild because it really did go for like huge money in retail when it was new. I mean, it was new. It was like released in 99, and so people just went crazy. We couldn't keep it on the floor. It had to be allocated. It had to be in the back. It was such a big deal. But anyway, it's kind of fun to see. I had this wine not too long ago. It's still drinking pretty well. I mean, I wouldn't say it's. So there's other examples in the auction this week that I would probably pick over that. But
it's
anyway,
$70.
Right? They're more than $70. But anyway. Moving on, speaking of legends, there's the 91. We talked about the Ridge Montebellos. The 91 is in this week, which is like far and away the best Montebello I've ever had. It's incredibly good. It's also, you can easily pick it out because it's got the green the different colored labels and the other ones. So
it's also $565.
Yeah, I mean it's known as one of the best Montebellos of all time, and it's really good. So
it's good because it also got a 92 from Robert Parker.
There you go, right? You look for that 92 points.
Look for that 92 points, and you're like, well, I think he's on a scale of 1 to 92 back then. And
we're getting passed out that often, but. Rahos are cool. There's Raffinelli Estate Blend 16. I always like to point out Raffinelli when it comes in. It's sort of one of my favorites. Just of all time, and sort of nostalgia wise too. My dad was on the mailing list forever and ever, so I used to drink the Zins when I wasn't supposed to be drinking wine. Anyway, there's, let's see, 2010 Arkenstone Obsidian, which popped in for $95, and I'm 99% sure that wine is probably way more expensive at the winery. There is some other kind of rarities in. There's Brion, 2019 Brion Sleeping Lady Cab, 165. Again, I want to say that's probably twice as much on the mailing list. Jeff, there's wine you and I drank in New York, 94 Bryant in this week at 425. That's legendary wine. Also, 94 Colgan Herb Lamb popped in again this week. We saw a couple of those a few weeks back. 17 Coruscant Magnum at 180. I didn't think was bad.
Oh, I missed the Coruscant Mag. 180 for Coruscant Mag?
180, yeah. I mean, 17, which people are kind of fearful of, but those wines to me, they're super, super balanced and like really, really, really enjoyable. I'm not saying they won't last like another, I don't know, 10 or so years, especially Coruscant. I'm sure it's built to last, but really, really tasty. 97 Dunhall Mountain at 165. I didn't think was bad. That wine's very, very good. It was kind of an interesting wine we don't see too often that's not expensive, but very tasty. It's the 97 Gallo of Sonoma Estate. This is like the estate wine that they made. And the mid 90s and early 90s examples are really tasty. It's $35. So go figure. Another steel that's like literally probably, I don't know. Well, let's see. It's quite a bit less than mailing list cost, but there's 2012 Gandona. It's the second label actually than Costa. So it's not, I mean, it's probably not that expensive, but I'm sure it's north of $100. Anyway, $70 reserve for that Gandona and Costa. 6-pack of 90 Harlan. I thought that was impressive. Don't see those every day. $10,800 for that. Nice little collection there. 94 Hess collection caught my eye for $40. I didn't think that was bad at all for a mountain, Mount Veeder cab.
No,
from
not at all. Not at all.
There's La Jolla Petite Syrah from the 90s, which is pretty hard to find these days. Also 97 Howell Mountain Cab for $75. I didn't think was bad at all. Those wines are really hearty, and the Petite Syrahs are probably really, really good. I haven't tasted them in years, but they're all like $40 to $50 for the petites. Another Jackass Hill came in this week, the 98 Martinelli Jackass Hill for $81. It's got a bid, looks like. 73 Mayacamas. There's a bunch of Paloma, Merlot, and Syrah. Syrah is actually super, super hard to find, but not expensive at all. I'm really interested in how those mid-90s are. Their Spring Mountain Merlots. They were a really big deal too back in the day. They were expensive and allocated and hard to find and all that stuff. But anyway, it's a bunch of them. They're anywhere from $25 for the Syrah on up to about 61 for the mid 90s Merlots. So, and then there's early Peter Michael Le Pavot, which is interesting to me. The 96 is into for a 110. I had that years ago. It was very, very good. There's some Pointe Rouge Chardonnay, which is legendary. A lot more for the Pointe Rouge than the Cabernet-based wines, but 93 Philip Tony Magnum, it's interesting. Pride Mountain Reserve, 15 cab. See that? $85 for that? I thought it was a steal. Yeah, the Prides are getting. Everyone's going to know.
I've been gobbling up Prides.
There's 93 Reserve Claret also, which that hasn't been in for years and years and years.
All the Pride stuff, the old Pride, that stuff ages so well.
Yeah. No, I'm sure it's great. All kinds of just really fun stuff. Just a couple more to mention, then I'll shut up. But there's a really interesting wine that we don't see, and it's got a very interesting backstory if you care to look that up. The Renaissance, there's Premier Cuvée and Vin de Terroir Cabernet Magnums from 97. There's a whole crazy story about this organization and what was going on there. It's like pretty fascinating. Anyway, the wines are quite good and they're not expensive. I don't know how they're drinking now, but definitely had quite a bit of that stuff back in the day. O2 Mendive Reserve, I thought for $71 was not bad at all.
It has a bid on it.
Yeah, that's a great deal. There's a nice little vertical, sort of broken vertical, if you will, of the Sean Thackeray Orion,
yes,
which does age incredibly well. It's very collectible. I'm sure those will all actually probably sell pretty quickly. It's got a real following. magnum of seven stones, 18 seven stones Cabernet for $300. Don't see many of those. It's really small production winery, and large formats are very hard to come by. So that was very cool. Again, we talked, I think last week when we were chatting with Walter, we were talking about Schaefer Hillside. There's a nice selection this week of older stuff. There's 92 and 95, which caught my eye. 91 Silver Oak Bonnie's Cab, which is last I had it was quite a few years ago, but very, very good. And then there's a really cool 6-pack of 85 through 1990 Silver Oak in original wood, which is very cool. And then you mentioned the Spring Mountain Cab, 74, 77, 78 is very, very good, by the way. A couple bottles of that are in this week. 94 Vine Cliff, I thought was a steal for $41. It's got a bid on it, not surprisingly. Mid-90s Oakville Cabernet for $40. Good luck finding any of that. Vineyard 29, there's a really nice little selection. The Ida cabs, and then the 03. I thought the 03 Red for $55 was an absolute steal.
I thought that was a huge steal. Like those Vineyard 29 are delicious. Like they make really good stuff.
And then back to sort of the legendary kind of theme, if you will. There is some 94 Williams Cellium Olivet Lane Pinot Noir, which is back before before Williams and Cellium sold it to John Dyson. Now, of course, it's owned, I think, almost entirely by Favely, which is interesting. But back then, those sort of pre-97 vintages they're hugely collectible, and they're still quite good. So anyway, that came in this week and caught my eye.
All right, I'm gonna list off just a couple things from the U.S. and then we'll wrap this up. The only other things I'd mention is in Oregon, there's some Antikythera and some interesting evening lands that's in auction. Mm-hmm. And then in Washington, there's a bunch of really cool, a bunch of cool old Chateau Saint Michel, from Artist Series to Coal Creek Cabernet Sauvignon from 70s and 80s and some 96 Col Solari. Other than that, I think we have to wrap this up, Paul.
I think so. I think we've been droning on for long enough.
Yes. So all the stuff we've mentioned, you can bid on if you bid before June 16th, 2024, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. This is all in auction. And as a bonus, if you use the code PROFESSORX, PROFESSORX, you'll get $15 off your order of $150 or more this week only. And with WineBid's finally hammered, this has been Jeff McGurn and Paul Walker wishing you happy bidding and cheers.
Cheers.